Good morning there, people. As you can tell by the road, this can only mean one thing. We are once again approaching 40k Colchester for another tournament. This tournament is going to be a 2,000 point tournament. It uses the book missions. It's going to be 3 rounds, so each round they randomly determine which mission it's going to be. And it's me and Michael who's driving, hence he's not
they're
talking.
making me drive for once.
I know.
And now you're going to make me talk and drive, which leads to car crashes, I suspect.
Yes, but I've made sure there's no junctions we need to take in the next couple of minutes, so we're safe in that regard.
I think this video is going to be like the M&M stand video. They're going to find the camera by the side of the road after we've stacked it.
And it's going to tell us, it's going to hear me go, stop, we're going to die.
My models! Something like that, I'm expecting.
Okay, so guys, if you're our fans, we're sorry we passed away.
Put the camera back at the road. I can't not look at it, and that means we're going to crash.
Oh, really? Oh my god. Yes, people, this is what I'm working with this morning.
This is why I don't drive.
Yeah, it gets complicated and messy, but unfortunately my girlfriend needed the car today, so yeah, we're stuck with being driven around by him. Although there's a Jane hat in the car, which makes any car journey more interesting. But anyway,
It does.
moving on.
Back to 40k.
Back to 40k. It's 2 minutes and 7 seconds in, we haven't mentioned it yet.
Yeah.
Probably should at some stage. Right, Mr. Hall, would you like to talk us through your list?
Okay, so my list today, I am taking Space Marines with Space Marine allies. They're all going to be painted red, so we're going with Blood Marines with Scarlet Scar allies. So in the Ultramarines detachment, we're shockingly taking Chief Librarian Tigris. And then for troops, we've got 2 tactical squads, both in drop pods. One's 10 men strong with 2 plasma guns, or a plasma gun and a combi plasma, and a las cannon. And they're kind of like designed that I can split them if need be, so I can have a las cannon sitting back holding an objective, and the plasma's coming down as my second wave of drop pods to stick down some pain on a big monstrous creature or something. Then I've got a second tactical squad which has 7 men in. It's got a flamer and it's got a combi melter. It's kind of like a bit of a more utility squad, and if I'm going to put Tigris in a drop pod, there's various options of where to put him. But if he's going in a drop pod, he's going to go with that squad, depending on what powers he takes. I've actually been looking at the decks, and there's a good chance if I'm drop podding, I may take a pyromancy spell.
Bum, bum, bum.
I know, that deck does exist, folks, you can take it. I'll basically be aiming for Molten Beam, because when you're drop podding in, Molten Beam is ridiculously good power, because you can't cast any blessings when you drop pod in. You ideally want a really good shooting attack, so I'll often go for Psychic Shriek as my shooting attack, but if you go for Pyromancy, you can go for Molten Beam, which can hit multiple vehicles with Melter, and you can always default to the Flamer, so you can then use the drop pod as an anti-infantry unit, so it gives you quite a bit of flexibility with the Pyromancy there.
Have you thought about what kind of order you're going to roll stuff up on?
What kind of
order? So,
yes, I have. I'm always leaving the prescient ones till last, so I'm always aiming for my psychic shooting attack first, just so I can then decide what he's going to be doing, and if I've gone for the psychic shooting attack, that will then kind of tell me where he's going to go in the army. So if I don't get the one I want, then I can go for more prescience, and I could sit him in the back with the Devastators, that kind of thing.
So you're expecting to chop and change between Pyromancy and Telepathy?
Yeah, it kind of depends what's in the enemy army, whether I go Pyromancy or vehicles. I'm going to go Pyromancy and hope for Molten Beam. Against things like monstrous creatures and such, go straight for Telepathy for the Psychic Shriek. Or if you're fighting Riptides and Wraith Knights, then it's also quite nice going for Telepathy, because then you can aim to get Puppet Master as well, which can be really powerful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's Tigris. Okay, we've done like 2 entries from Army so far.
Go.
So that's the tactical squad. Then we move on to elites. I've got a full 10-men squad of Stern Guard. They in a drop pod as well. They're my 3rd drop pod unit. They've got 2 heavy flamers and 3 combi melters. So again, designed when I drop down, I can split up, go for infantry, go for tanks, or if I want, I can split the combi melters between both squads and go for 2 tanks. Because using Ultramarines as primary, I can re-roll my 1s to miss, re-roll the 1s to hit, or Tigris can use the Warlord power to re-roll all to hit rolls, meaning that even having 1 melter in a squad is still reasonably reliable for hitting. Also in elites, I've got a Legion of the Damned squad. They got multi-melter, melter gun, and combi melter, and just the 5 men strong. So drop in, ignore cover, melter shots, always good. fast attack, I've got a Storm Talon with Skyhammer missiles. That's my one kind of like conceit to Skyfire. Again, playing Ultramarines, taking the Ultramarines Devastator tactic means that you can be reasonable at Skyfire for a turn if you need it. Things like I can fire my Devastators, the las cannon from the tacticals. They're not reliable, but you add enough of them in, re-rolling their misses because they're snap firing with the Devastator tactic, that you can get another hit on a flyer if need be. It's not solid anti-air, but it's reasonable anti-air.
And it's surprising how useful that crap grenade becomes.
Yeah, exactly, as we've done in the battle report before. Moving on to heavy support, I've got a Devastator squad with 3 missile launchers and a las cannon. It's one of the units in the army that I'm not super happy with, because I think missile launchers are expensive now, and I couldn't afford all las cannons, so I've got the one las cannon to use a signal with, but they give Tigger somewhere to sit if I'm fighting against an army that's going to rush across the board, and I'm probably not going to want to drop quad amongst their ranks, so I'd start Tiggerus there so you can cast blessings from that unit. Things like ignore cover, reroll armor saves enemy units, he'll be casting from there. Also in heavy support, I've got a Stalker, which is the other anti-air thing, but it's also good at anti-skimmer duty. And I quite like having it because you can use it to block line of sight turn 1, because it's not very expensive. If the opponent's not playing with units it's good versus, I'm just going to use it as a movable wall, because you can move it 12 inches and fire its guns just as effectively as you could fire them normally, if you're firing against non-flyers and such. And last heavy support option is obviously a Thunderfire cannon, because I'm playing Space Marines and you can't not take at least one. It's there for trying to kill Screamer Stars before they get off the ground, and just sniping people out of units and putting loads of hits on hordes. It's just all round good.
Yeah, I don't think you ever have to explain why you've got Thunderfire cannon.
No.
It's 100 points, it gives you bolstered defense, tech Marines, it's just all round useful.
Yeah, it's just really good.
I've never been disappointed. They've never come up against an army where they're meant to be used either.
Yep. And then move on to the allied detachment, which is the Scarlet Scars. So we've got a White Scars Chapter Master in there on bike. He's the standard Chapter Master on bike. He's got a Thunder Hammer, Shield Return, Large Facer Armour, and I think he's got a Auspex as well, just because I had a couple of points spare. Then I've got 2 squads of bikes. One is 4 bikes and an attack bike, and they have double melter gun and multi-melter on the attack bike. And the other is 5 standard bikes. They've got 2 grav guns and 1 combi grav. So they're multi-use, they're obviously troops, so they're the extra scoring in the army. I think I might be slightly light on scoring units, because we know that only one of the rounds today will be the scouring or big guns, because they randomise between 2 missions every round, and the scouring and big guns are in 1 mission together.
Yep.
So not certain I've got enough scoring, but I'm hoping I have.
But then you've only the other mission, the other 5 objective is up with kill points. You've only got 50% chance of
Yeah,
getting it
exactly.
anyway. And you're
And
not
then you might
exactly
have
light.
relics, so
Yeah, I mean, I think people put too much emphasis on how many troops they need, because in some ways almost as important is denial units. So long as most of your units can deny, you've
it's
got
only my drop pods and my stalker that can't deny. So
in some ways that's almost just as useful, because you only need to win by 1 objective essentially. So
although now might be a good time to go into the scoring of the how the tournament's working scoring wise. Do you want to cover that?
yeah, I'll do my best. So is it 10-5-1?
Oh, right. No. Right, so we're going to go into the thing and neither of us know exactly.
Well, you're the one that said it. I wasn't planning on doing it.
I think it might be 5-3-1 myself. But I'm uncertain. I think it is 5-3-1.
Okay, so, right. First things first, you don't want to be on
First things first, we're in the wrong lane.
Yeah,
we're
here we
talking
go.
and getting lost.
Oh dear, fail. Right, he'll blame me for this, by the way, just to be clear.
Yes, Mark, that's your fault. You're in charge of directions.
Right, so first things first, tournaments are done by win, loss, draw. So depending upon where you go there, the tiebreakers they use are the amount of scenario points you get. So for example, an objective is worth 3 points, that's 3 scenario points. In kill point missions, they're worth scenario points, etc. In addition to that, you also gain 5 bonus scenario points if you manage to table your opponents. As well as that, they will also, when the game's worked out at the end of the game, if you table or if your opponent gives up, you have to physically be able to score the objective to be able to counter. You don't necessarily have to be on it, you just have to be in a position where if the TA looks over it, you've got the squad.
I think they've actually quantified it in the rules pack that every unit of yours can count as scoring or contesting, but contesting doesn't matter, count as scoring the closest uncontrolled objective to itself.
Yeah.
Is the way they've actually worded it. So you've got 2 scoring units on the table, they will score 2 objectives no matter where they are on the table if you wipe out the enemy.
So, yeah, I mean, in our experience first, I mean, I think it came up on the last report, whereby there was, I think, 3 of us who ended up with 3 wins and a loss, 3 wins without any losses. So it's entirely possible to go that again. So we think the scenario point, and especially the tabling score, can make a real big difference in terms of if you're realistically trying to win it. So I was obviously going to, initially planning, I haven't gone through my list yet, but I was planning on taking Space Marines, but a combination of lack of time to paint it and the army I want to take is very much about, it's a win by inches as opposed to a tabling style army.
Yeah, it's very much a much more tactical army, I would say, just due to the fact that it's not going to wipe people out, but it will beat them at lots of aspects of the game and thus pull out the victory.
So I've gone for kind of a much more sort of beat-facey army.
This is a good segue, Mark. Do your army.
Do my army now. Okay, so I've gone for Eldar Dark Eldar. Obviously I've been running the Beast Pack for a little while now, so I just decided to go back down with that because I really like it. So the Eldar contingent, which is now primary, I've gone for Eldrad, then and a Farseer on a jet bike with his Shard of Anaris. That gives me 7 rolls on the Runes of Battle, is it, or Runes of Fate?
Runes of Fate.
Runes of Fate, because I think the Fortune is incredibly important. So I think that's why I've gone for Eldrad over another Farseer. And obviously I've got the Shard of Anaris in there to guarantee me fearless.
And again, what's your plans after, say, you get Fortune? Obviously Fortune is first plan. What are you then aiming to get for that squad?
So once I got Fortune, I think depending upon when I get it, I'm always going to have. I'll probably always roll once on. I want to say prescience, but it's not called that.
Divination.
Divination. There's a lot of powers on divination that aren't really particularly good for me. You know, I don't want perfect timing and all cover is pointless. The 4+ invulnerable save is pointless. The Overwatch at 4PS and counterattack is very unlikely to be used. Re-rolling your psychers to hit roll saves, etc., not very good for me. So the only powers I want from divination is Scryer's Gaze, Misfortune, and then the Pre-Signs. So I'm only ever going to roll probably once on divination, and then if they get the powers I want, go straight down for that. Also, the other power I really would like against certain armies, depending upon how much ignore cover they've got, is invisibility. So depending upon when I get that, will dictate how many rolls on telepathy I go for, but there's a lot of really good powers on telepathy for me to take.
Yeah, telepathy's got lots of good stuff.
Yeah, so in some ways telepathy is kind of like my secondary. So for example, if I get Fortune on, say, my 3rd power for Eldrad, I'll probably then just go for the 1 roll on divination. If I don't get the power once, go straight for Pre-Science, then my other Farseer. Prescience, whatever, no one actually cares.
Free science is before science.
So what? So anyway, and then I'll go for, I'll probably then just take 3 rolls on telepathy because I want the invisibility. Psychic Street is good, Puppet Master is good, Dominate's not too bad, Hallucination's a good power. So there's probably more than offer for me on telepathy there is.
So Eldrad's really good with the two warp charge powers. So
yeah. So that's kind of my line of thinking, really.
Are you always rolling Eldrad before the other Farseer or not?
Always, yeah. Because Eldrad is a lot. Well, I say a lot more. It's a lot more likely to get Fortune, and Fortune is incredibly important. So once I've got Fortune, you know, I can then start really thinking about what I want to do. You know, but Eldrad gets it first roll.
This one?
Yes, I think it is.
Hey, I remembered the junction.
So yeah, that's kind of my line of thinking, really. Just maximise. I really Fortune. I'm going to roll for every single time until I get the Fortune. So I want to do that as quick as possible as well. So Eldrad is more likely to do it than everything else. So I'm just kind of hoping to get it and done.
Just as a quick aside, if you're following the wonderful visuals on this,
is the right turning. Sorry,
this isn't the right turning. Okay, look what we did, folks.
So far, we've almost gone on the wrong junction, and then we've taken the wrong turning.
Okay, where are we going here, Mark?
Go back on the A12. So go straight on, I'd say.
This is going to be a wonderful part of the video. If you're following the wonderful video here, then you can use our cunning directions of where not to go.
Yes. Yeah. This is the scenic route. It's
In our
officially called.
defence, the sign did say Chelmsford, and we are going to Chelmsford.
Except we're not. We're still going to Colchester.
Ah, that's the reason. Okay, there's the A12. Back to video.
Yes. So, yeah. Thank you. There you go, guys. If you're looking out for signs to Colchester,
Yeah.
they look like that one.
That one there.
So that's the one we should have. Well, I say we should have gone.
Now, we have it on video that I said to Mark, this turning, right, Mark? And he said to me, yes. So we all know whose fault it is.
Go back, and I think if you hear me say, I say yes, I think so.
One of us is editing the video. That I think so won't be there.
One of us is claiming to edit the video. Not you've got your editing skills that Dave Fitness at sitcom. Just be honest, mate. You don't edit; you just put them together.
Yeah, this is true. I pressed the button on the computer.
So
your army, Mark.
moving on. How far have I got? I've done the two
You've done your
fastest.
HQs.
Yeah, half of my HQs from one army. Okay, sure, because there's going to be a Baron later on. There you go, guys, letting you in. Right, anyway, 2 squads of 5 Dire Vengeance, both in Wave Serpents and Follow Fields. One's got Scatter Lasers, one's got Bride Lancers. Combination of models I had available, and I also do like having something at long range to deal with AV-14, etc. So that's kind of why they're in there for. Then I've gone for 3 squads of Guardian jet bikes. One of them's got the Shuriken cannon. They're just really good units, so there's no reason I need to explain them. 5 Wart Spiders, no upgrades, and a Night Spinner with the Ghost Walk Matrix to give you the turbo boost and still fire.
That is.
Gives you a really good alpha strike, and it's really good against things like Screamers to be able to turbo boost up Torrent and put massive amounts of damage on them.
Have you got holofields on all your tanks?
Holofields on the 2 troop tanks, but not on the Night Spinner. I would have loved to, but it's 15 points, so it's hard to get really. So
yeah, I think it's well costed because it's not an auto take. But it is very good. I think you always take it if you've got the spare points.
That's it, and there's also a reasonable amount of ignored covers around these days as well. So.
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, I would have gone for it if I could, but I couldn't. So unfortunately, points permitting, etc. So that is the Eldar side of the army. Then I've gone for Dark Eld. I've gone for the Baron. I've gone for 3 Troopborn with 2 Splinter Cannons and Haywire Grenades. They're riding around in a Venom with dual cannons. I've got 5 Cabralite Warriors in a Venom with dual cannons. 5 Witches with Haywire Grenade in a Venom with dual cannons, and then I've gone for 5 Beastmasters and 25 Chimera.
That's a lot of Chimera. That's like a really big Impy Guard army.
That is an awful lot of hounds, and they take up a great deal of real estate. So you know, as I said, it's a beast pack army as I normally do, and I've gone for the extra Invulnerable Slaves because I think it's really powerful. And I don't like the fact that the Razor Wing Flots you can now get. They're too easy to instant tap out with precision striking on Chapter Masters and bits and pieces like that is why I've kind of gone for the way I've gone for. You know, the army's mobile, it's fast, weakness to anti-air, but I think it's pretty good at dealing with most other things. So there you go, that's my list.
So there are our 2 lists. God knows what we're going to face down here today because this is the tournament. Mark and I don't go to a huge amount of tournaments, and we always try and make it down to 40k because they're a really friendly bunch of guys that we've known for quite some time now, and the meta's always different every time we come down.
Yeah.
I think last time I was down there was lots of Riptides, lots of Wraith Knights, and we've both got elements of our armies to deal with such things. So there's probably not going to be any of them today. It's probably going to be kind of like all orcs or something.
We'll probably find 5th edition Chimera spam type list now.
Yeah.
Which I suppose I could deal with if I needed to, but
yeah, I'm less good against.
No, you're not too bad. You've got plenty of melter in there.
I've got lots of melter. I've only got melter. I think I've got like 13 melter guns, but they're spread for about 4 squads. So yeah, I suppose it's reasonable because I don't have that many squads.
You got grav and crack grenades as well, so
it's going to be a real change for me using drop pods. I haven't really used drop pods in 6th edition as yet, and I think my key to the tournament, whether I do well or not, is how well I use them when I go kind of balls to the wall, attempt to just straight in attack them. This is Chelmsford, Mark. We're going here?
No, we're still going to Colchester, Curly.
I get those 2 confused so much.
They both begin with C, that's about it.
And they're on the same road.
They are on the same road, that is true, okay? You know, they're practically the same place. I can see why you do this.
Yeah. So what are we looking forward to facing? So I'm I'm reasonably happy facing things like Tau. I'd be quite happy with. I think demons are going to be one of my issues, because drop podding versus demons, you don't want to do that. That seems bad.
I'm quite happy against. I'll probably like to play demons.
Probably lots of venoms, good versus demons.
Yeah. Even the flying cav, I've got enough shooting to down one of them a turn, haven't I? So once they've found a grounded check, I mean, it all depends on how quickly I can get to Fate Weaver.
Yeah, depending on what version of demons they are as well. It depends how good your beast pack's going to be versus demon prints, flying monsters. I think your beast pack's going to rip them apart. Possibly not Screamer Star, because the 2-up invulnerable is pretty hard to get through no matter what you are.
No, I'll take me every single time.
But I suppose you've got far less points wrapped up in your own beast pack than they have in their Screamer Star, and if they just sit there and fight each other for hours, then
I've got hit and run.
Win.
And
you've got hit and run, so yeah, definitely
so
you.
They assault me. They don't do that much damage to me because
certainly not. They don't have enough attacks, do they?
Yeah, and I've got re-rollable saves, and if I got something like invisibility up, even then they're so likely to do that much damage, and I'll just hit and run out, hit their troops. There's enough models in there that I could probably spread out, so I can re-hit the beast pack, re-hit the Screamer Star and their troops at the same time, sort of thing.
I suppose so. The Baron is very key to the way your unit works, just due to the fact that he's the one model that gets hit and run. So would you use him up front to tank or not?
No, I have no intention of tanking him whatsoever.
Even with the re-rolls?
Even with the re-rolls, I think he's probably too important to my list.
Yeah.
I tell a lie. If I think there's nothing in there that I'm going to want to hit and run off, then yeah, I can start using it. But also brings offensive grenades, defensive grenades.
He is incredibly important, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, there are situations where I could consider tanking a few wounds and stuff like that, but no, for the most part, I don't want to be. He's too important for the list. So yeah, I wouldn't mind that. And grav spam bikers, or grav spam in general, it's just the grav weapons just don't work against me really that well.
No.
I can keep most of my vehicles off the board if I need to, and I've got such piss poor armour saves that I'm just laughing at grav weapons.
When you went through your list, I didn't remember you saying warp spiders.
I did say warp spiders.
Oh, you did say warp spiders, because I know you got them today.
Yeah,
they're just such a good multi-use unit. They're good anti-flyer if need be. They're good anti-tank. They put out enough shots they can hurt hordes.
That's it. Yeah, and they're reasonably high strength, so they could tap out toughness, free models, etc., which can be occasionally useful.
How do you intend to use those? Deep striking in, or just jumping really fast forwards from setup?
50-50 really. It depends on what kind of army, whether I'm going first or second. I think there's too many variables there. They've got so many different options. They're so mobile. A lot of it's going to depend on terrain. It's going to depend on what like I said, what I'm fighting, whether I can hide them, how much my army I want to hold off the boards, etc. So I don't think I can really fully honestly say what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of they're so flexible. I kind of think about and adapt as I come across. Really.
Have you got any other units that you're thinking you're going to reserve quite often, or just when you think it's needed?
I can see the guided jet bikes will reserve an awful lot.
Yeah.
I can see a lot of the guys that are meant to be inside the transports might hang off the board. I could part of me could see me reserving my wave serpent in certain games as well.
I'm not sure, because if you're being shot at first, the wave serpent shield is so good at protecting you. I'm not really sure they ever need to worry about being back. Let's not get done for speeding.
It's not speeding. There you go. Look, there's another sign for you guys. We showed you a lot of roadside today. That's a 14
There's
camera.
a lot of roadside.
Yeah.
Going to be a really interesting visual video. I might put a little note at the start of the video saying maybe do some painting while listening to this.
Yeah. This is. I mean, although when we talk, we'll probably do it over the tables now.
Yeah, that is true. We'll try and get you some more visual feast. I mean, I would let Mark point the camera back at me some more, but as I say, we'd probably.
Here you go. Here. You can have a quick look at
it.
And you have to look at the camera.
I do. That's what you do when somebody points a camera at you.
No, well, you're driving.
Look, you know I'm not good at multitasking.
Oh my.
Anyway, so that is going to be our tournament today. We'll update you after every round. We'll try and stay near the tables if possible, and so you can just see the battlefields we're fighting on and such. And then we'll tell you about our opponents and hopefully our glorious victory as Mark and I meet in the final.
Yeah, this is it. So wish us luck, and we'll catch you later, guys.
Cheers.
Okay, so we've arrived here at 40k. You can see we're upstairs. We have finished the first round. Mark and I managed to arrive just about on time after getting lost after we turned the camera off in the car. We can get distracted no matter what happens. So, Mark, tell us about your first round. There is Mark.
Hello.
This is the army he's playing today.
That's my opponent's army. And
This is opponent's army. Lots of nice pre-Heresy Chaos models.
Yep, so roughly he's got 2 Helldrakes, he's got a Land Raider, he's got about 3 or 4 squads of Chaos Marines, he's got some Havocs, squad of a Blitz, a couple of Helldrakes, and 4 Terminators, including the Chaos Lord, roughly. We were playing bases, he was up in this corner. He set up his, I gave him first turn, so he set up his Aegis defence line down here. On my turn, I had Fortune and I had Invisibility.
Nice psychic powers.
I kept a reasonable amount of my army off the board. I just hid 2 Wave Serpents and my Witches in the Venom down in this corner, out of range of all his shooting.
Yep.
My Beast Pack here. Basically all I did was the Beast Pack pushed forward and forward, managed to go through most of the army, killed the Vindicator, killed 2 of the Rhinos, killed all the squads inside. The Havocs got taken out by my firepower, and the Beast Pack also killed the Blitz.
Yep.
So the Beast Pack just obviously stormed through everything. The 2 Helldrakes, they came on down here, they gave me massive problems. But I had, using the Haywire Grenade, using my Wart Spiders, etc., I was able to shoot them at the bum. Both of them at the same time, I managed to get a couple of hole picks off them so they couldn't shoot.
Nice.
So because of that, he decided to fly off the board, and on the same turn, he brought his Land Raider on. When his Land Raider came on, I sent my Witches and my Troopborn up with Haywire Grenades. I chucked a Haywire Grenade for my Witches, rolled a 6 to pen, rolled a 6 to explode, which meant I was then able to shoot the guys inside, killed them.
That's a bit of a swinger.
Yeah, killed. Well, at this point he had almost nothing left anyway. This is like turn 4. He only had about 5 or 6 Marines left down here, which I sold my Beast Pack, which meant he had no models on the board, and because I went second, it meant I won the game through tabling on about turn 4.
Nicely done.
Regardless, you know, if I hadn't got the 6s, I would have assaulted with both squads, probably taken out Land Raider anyway. He's only got 5 or 6 guys. I got the 5. I have a good amount of shooting to take them out. So it'll just be 2 Helldrakes flying around, but they can't really stop me.
Thoughts on the army? Your army, this is?
Yeah, I am happy with it.
You can see the amount of fucking Chimera he's got there.
Yeah, well, I knew my problem would be against lots of high AV. You know, anything with more than rear armor 10 would cause me problems.
Yeah.
And
Haywires make such a big difference there.
Yeah,
such a good upgrade.
I definitely needed them in this game, and also the Helldrakes were they were the 2 things I didn't want to play against.
Yeah, even if you mitigate against Helldrakes, they're always going to be good. The vector striking is good. The flame is always good.
So yeah, the Helldrakes caused me. They were a nightmare. They killed maybe 2 or 3 squads of jet bikes, and this is me trying to avoid and play against them and stuff like that.
That's it. They can kill any unit jet bikes per turn, can't they? Because they can get anywhere.
Yeah, so they did cause me a lot of problems. So I was quite glad really when I managed to get those picks on. I mean, like I was saying, I did plan for how to deal with them, and I think my plan worked out reasonably well. So
you got maximum point, mate. So
can't be too bad.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Right then, guys. Seeing as we're doing it interview style now, this is Curly's table. And this is his round 1 game.
I've got to do my hair.
Making himself looking pretty. Right, this is your army, nicely set up and ready to go.
This is my army, yeah, all the red.
Talk us briefly through your opponents.
So my opponent was playing a reasonably similar army to me. He was playing Imperial Fists. He had a couple of full tactical squads. He had one of the Hunter, the different one to my one. His main unit was he had a Land Raider with 3 Centurions with Grav inside, and he had a Chapter Master with Eternal Warrior shield. He had Terminator armor and a Thunderhammer, and then he had a white command squad all with grav guns and storm shields, plus another Chapter Master with Thunderhammer and a normal storm shield, and then he had a Thunderfire cannon. So he had his 2 brick units, and 1 squad of scouts as well. So we set up, obviously it was the same mission that Mark played, so he took over there in the corner, he put his Thunderfire and his Hunter, I took over here, my Thunderfire, my Stalker. I gave him first turn because I won the roll off, because obviously being drop pod, you always want to go second. He set up his Land Raider here, his bikers over there, so I decided to do a little bit of a knife flank. I measured all the ranges to make sure he couldn't get any grav in range turn 1, and I arrayed all my bikers along here. I hugged the board edge to stop his orbital bombardments and his Thunderfire cannons from being anywhere near as effective, and they killed nothing turn 1. I think he may have killed 1 tactical marine with all of his shooting on turn 1, so I was thinking brilliant at this point. Then I dropped in my Stern Guard, and they came down over here. The Land Raider was here. This was the big turning point in the game. My Stern Guard split into 2 squads, one with double melter, one with single melter, and then I had also moved up the melter attack bikes, so they were in range as well. I then fired at the Land Raider with all of them. I popped my Ultramarines tactical doctrine so I could re-roll 1s on the melter guns. I think I ended up hitting with 3 of the melter guns. Not a single one did even a glancing hit though, and that was
bad.
It was a redeemer, and did this mission, and I was a bit pinned in the corner by his grav gun deployments because he'd gone both sides, and I couldn't really be in range turn 1. It meant the redeemer had to die, and it didn't die, which was an issue. So then on his turn, I came down over there with my plasma squad, split in half. I managed to stun lock his, or not stun lock, I managed to get a free result against his stalker or hunter, which was pretty nice. It meant my flyer could come on and wouldn't get shot. And I also managed to get first blood by killing his tech marine with a plasma gun shot on the Thunderfire. The drop pod is so good versus the Thunderfire, you just pinpoint kill it straight away because he can't look out, sir. But on his turn down here, it all went utterly Pete Tong. He tank shocked one of my units and they went over here somewhere. And then he used his Redeemer to fire 1 flamer at those, 1 flamer at the other half of the squad, decimating both halves of the squad. His Chapter Master came out with the Centurions. The Chapter Master fired his orbital bombardment over at Tigris in the corner because they had split fire. He killed 3 of Tigris's Devastators and nearly killed Tigris. And then the Devastators fired at my Chapter Master with his squad, got a ridiculous number of wounds on them, and I picked up a big handful of dice and I rolled about 10 less than 3, and they all had 3 ups, and it just, the whole unit disappeared, which was, we were both a bit shocked at. And what else did, and the Redeemer Cannon also killed some of the bikes as well in the Grav squad, so I was down to 2 there. So at that point the game was more or less over as a competitive thing. I was going to basically try and cheese a draw by contesting both objectives, but I had nothing really to deal with his squad of bikes. I managed to deep strike in my Legion of the Damned. They blew up at the Land Raider, and then the next turn they assaulted his Centurions and Chapter Master. My 5 Legion of the Damned managed to kill all 3 of his Centurions and put his Chapter Master on 1 wound. Every time I hit him, he just rolled a 1 for his save and just fell over.
The Legions of the Damned are just heroes, aren't they?
Yeah.
They really are.
But in the end, I nearly took out his Chapter Master with Tigris' force weapon over here, but didn't quite do it. So his Chapter Master and his bike squad basically took down there. He had his tactical squad managed to come over and score this objective, so it was all about the other objective. I had 1.5 tactical squads over there. He had a tactical squad and a tactical squad and a scout squad. Unfortunately, his flamer rolled really well on 1 roll and took out most of my tacticals, and then we just attritioned each other down until he had, I think, 3 tactical marines left, but I had none left. I had a biker left at the end, but I couldn't get in to contest it because he'd surrounded it with his command squad in the end. So it was a really good game though. It was against opponent Mike. We both had lots of really old models from the 80s and thoroughly enjoyed it. So thanks to Mike for the game, and let's see what happens in the next round.
Well, I just found out I'm playing the infamous Mark Pocock.
He is playing Mark.
Bring it on down. He's not running Screamer Star though, so I don't know whether that's good or bad. But anyway, cheers to that, Kelly, and we'll see you later.
Will do, mate. Don't look, Mike.
Okay then, this is the end of the whole tournament. It was a good day, great day. Kelly and I are now driving back. Due to sort of timings and stuff like that, we didn't really get a chance to do the video. Probably more my fault than anything else because my second game took a while. Anyway, we'll start with yourself. How was your second game?
So we'll do second games and we won't give away our results for the third. So second game I was playing against a Grey Knight player. Another really good game against an opponent I really got on with well. All 3 of my games today I was really pleased with the fact that my opponents and I really kind of like we seem to want to play the same type of games. There was no problems with any take-backs and things like that, which is, I like to play casual. And all my opponents seem happy to do that. So second game it was the long table deployment, whichever that one's called.
Hammer and Anvil, is it?
Hammer and Anvil. He was playing Grey Knights. He had a big squad of 10 Terminators, squad of 5 Terminators, Grandmaster, Librarian, Dread Knight with Teleporter and Combat Sword and Flamer, and 2 Side Rifle Dreads. I set up first, I had first turn, and I went a bit further back than him because I basically outranged him, and I knew I outranged him, and I'm not sure he had thought I'd outranged him at the start, but he soon realised that I did, because I deployed Tigris with the Devastators in a bolstered ruin, so they were sitting there quite well protected. Oh, he also had a Storm Raven, so I had to watch out for shock missiles, so I managed to deploy Tigris on the very top of a ruin with nobody else on his level, so if he targeted him and scattered, they wouldn't hurt anybody. So I started off by just shooting more stuff than him. I managed to grab first blood, I think. Did I grab first blood? Yeah, I grabbed first blood. The first turn was night fighting, we didn't really kill much, so I killed something turn 2. He had reserved his Terminators, and they came in a bit piecemeal, which cost him the game really. He daringly dropped one squad in my backfield to try and shoot some stuff, but didn't roll very well. And then I turned around my army. I just moved my bikes back and obliterated the squad. I cast Misfortune on it from Tiggy. He failed his Deny the Witch, and the next turn I did the same to another Terminator squad. He tried to deep strike in, he mishapped, so I got to place it. I put it in the centre of my army. I let him shoot whatever he fancied because I was reasonably well entrenched in cover, and then I misfortuned it and blew it off the table again. So he'd lost 2 Terminator squads, and then I just moved my bikes up table, and by the end of the game I held every objective because it was big guns, so I could score with a heavy as well. I killed all 3 of his heavies. He had Grandmaster Thrawn who had got up off the table, and he had a Storm Raven that came in because he had sent it off the table turn 5, it came in turn 6. I managed to, my Chapter Master beat his Grandmaster up in close combat. So it was, in the end I got nearly maximum points, didn't quite get the wipe out due to the evil Storm Raven that I couldn't shoot down. So yeah, but it was a good game. It was a little one, so I think my army was just better at the mission than his army was. It meant he had to kind of play into my hands a bit, so I had control for most of the game.
Yeah.
And Tigerius was just awesome. He had Prescience, he had Misfortune, and he had the 4+ invulnerable, so every turn he was just handing these out and killing enemies.
Nice.
So what about you? How did you get on your second game? This was quite an epic game. This is the reason we didn't get to do a video, so
yes.
launch into it.
Oh god, right. So I was playing a guy called Mark Pocock, who, if you listen to sort of 40k radio, probably heard of at least.
Yeah, we know him reasonably well, don't we?
Yeah.
Played him lots of times.
Normally known for his
tournaments.
Screamer Star, but today he's running Taldar. So he had 3 Riptides with sort of Iron Accelerators and Interceptor. You had the Tau Buff Commander in a squad of Dark Reapers.
Oh yeah, because he was Dark Reaper Star, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's it. And he had all the missiles. Came with
a Unit 6 Star on the end. There's an army type.
Yeah. Then he had the Wave Serpent to go with them. He had a couple of squads of guarded jet bikes. He had a Farseer on a jet bike. He rolled up Fortune on that guy, which proves to be a real pain in the arse. He had a couple of Sky Rays. He had 3 squads of Kroots. It was big guns, as he said. I won the roll off, and I elected to go second. Because of that, he deployed on the line, and he was intended to do a fighting withdrawal. And I rolled Fortune, but not Invisibility. However, I managed to seize on him, which was obviously quite a big deal.
Always good.
Always good. So my Beast Pack managed to get Fortune up and was like about 14, 15 inches up the field and right up in his grill, almost from the first turn. Didn't do much damage at all on my sort of shooting phase. So went straight into his turn 2. He shot my Beast Pack with just about everything, but didn't do a great deal of damage because of Fortune and cover, etc. He maybe killed sort of about 5 or 6 dogs. And then he wasn't really able to run far enough away to get out of my assault range. So in my turn 2, I was able to assault the Screamer Star. I was able to shoot the assault.
Don't mean the Screamer Star, do you?
Nope, I shot the Dark Reapers. Assaulted the Dark Reapers a little bit. Assaulted a Sky Ray, 2 Sky Rays, and a Riptide. So that was obviously quite a good assault for me. So I locked in there. I ended up, before I'd gone over the assault, I managed to Puppet Master a Sky Ray, fired all 6 of his missiles into another Sky Ray, put a couple of hull points on that one.
Puppet Master is really clutch versus Sky Rays. You just waste their missiles.
Yeah,
Such
yeah.
a play, and they're also, obviously they're doing loads of damage with the missiles, but that you just waste them. That's 130 points gone, no matter what you kill with the shooting as well.
That's it. Yeah, really, really sort of massively important. So the close combat got in. I only killed one of the Sky Rays. Didn't roll particularly well on the Sky Rays. Against the Reapers, I maybe only killed sort of 2 or 3 of them. I didn't actually manage to take out the immobilized Wraith Serpent. So my combat wasn't that great, but I held on against the Dark Reaper Stars and so kept going. His turn, and on my turn too, all my reserves came on. So I just basically lined up one of the ball's edges to make sure his crew couldn't outflank on in sort of good positions. His turn, all his reserves stayed off, which was to prove quite key.
Very key in the end, wasn't it?
So that's 2 guarded jet bikes and all 3 squads, none of them came on. He couldn't really find my Beast Packs, we did sort of pot shots. But realistically, because his Riptide had done a bit of intercepting on my units had come on, he didn't really do that much damage to me. Onto the combat, I think I finished off the Sky Ray, Didn't really do much damage to Riptide and Farseer because he had Fortune up, and then killed a couple more of the Dark Reapers, and then hit and run out of combat, which was useful. My turn was really good because I managed to terrify one of the Riptides and it ran off the board.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, that's good. Reasonably, I mean, it's not that great, and
doesn't have brilliant leadership, do they? So
yeah, and he made a lot of his dominate saving throws, which kind of counteracts it later on.
Was he playing normal Tau? I assume he was because buff commander, so he didn't have the talisman of Ankh-Morpork.
Yeah, no, just stock standard Tau. So I'm hit running out of combat. I go into one of his Riptides, and this is where my luck goes a little bit wrong. He puts 1 wound on my Baron, and because I would have won this combat by about 3 or 4, no, I think I would have won the combat by about 2. I wanted to beat the Riptide because he's obviously leadership 7, had a reasonable chance to run off. So I took the 1 wound on the Baron with Fortune, and I failed on a double 1. So
was he smashing then?
No, it wasn't smashing, but Baron's only toughness 3.
But he's strength 6, isn't he?
Yeah. So unfortunately managed to instant kill my Riptide, sorry, my Baron, which also means I then can hit run out of combat to open up my shooting phase.
Yeah, that's a really big point of it, because I came over to you just before that point and I said, oh, hey, getting on, Mark? And you were like, yeah, pretty well actually.
Yeah.
And then I came over and saw the Baron bit, and that really alters the dynamic of your beast pack, doesn't it? Because not being able to hit and run makes them so much worse.
Yeah, not being able to hit and run, and the 2+ invulnerable with you're not getting instant death is normally really useful as well. So that was kind of a big deal, really. At this point, then his Farseer with a Riptide and Fortune, they're still alive and kicking gas. I can't really hurt them. I'm locked into my beast pack's now locked in combat with a Riptide. It takes me a couple of turns to go through that.
Yeah, because it was a Fortune Riptide, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then I just my Wart Spiders. I kept trying to deep strike them in to do some damage, but they kept mishapping. They mishapped 3 times in a row and eventually destroyed themselves. Yeah.
Oh. How daring were you being with them?
Not massively. There was only ever 1 unit around them, but they just kept scattering onto it. So I kept that they were always going for the Dark Reapers, but so I was normally about sort of 6-7 inches away, but I just kept rolling enough to always hit them. So every single time.
Before the tournament, you were talking to me that you were thinking maybe Swooping Hawks if you had time to paint them.
Yeah.
After the tournament, are you thinking Swooping Hawks may have been a better bet?
Definitely, yeah. The precision deep strike's really useful. The drop of the grenade launchers.
That's it. On paper, they look nowhere near as good as Warp Spiders, but I actually think for tactical usage and for the pinpoint deep strike and just various things like that, I think they are probably a better unit.
Yeah, I definitely would have preferred to have them. Also, they've got plasma and haywire grenades as well,
Yeah.
which is really powerful. So I given a choice, I would have taken the Swooping Hawks, but I just didn't have time to get them painted. So the Warp Spiders are good and they were pretty useful for me, but the Swooping Hawks would have done far more with hindsight. And just the ability to kind of redeploy so well, that is just massive. So yeah, that kind of happened. And also, he managed to keep most of his troops off until they had to come on. So that made it really hard. So I didn't really have many sort of good, decent targets. His Tau buff commander's taken it. So I wasn't really able to do that much damage to the Dark Reapers. I got them down to about 3 or 4 models. I eventually got through the Riptide at about turn 4. And by this time, his other Riptides has kind of come around the back and he's killed a reasonable amount of my troops, but I still got a couple of Guardian jet bikes. But the Dark Reapers then start opening up on my Guardians whenever. So he basically, one turn he tanks Hunters, Wave Serpent, kills it. Next turn the Guardians get out and they get killed by the Dark Reapers. So ignoring cover is just so powerful with Twin Link and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of really starts to deplete my troops quite quickly, and his aren't on the board for me to target with my good shooting. So it ends up with his Farseer's also got the Shard of Anara, same as me. So we end up locked in the challenge, fighting each other about 3-4 turns, but I have Fortune, he doesn't. He's still casting Fortune on his Riptide, and I don't really do a lot of damage. Eventually ends up, I do win the challenge with an instant Deathless Farseer. That happened at about turn 5, about the same sort of time that I killed the Riptide with combat resolution as well. That was kind of key. So on turn 5 he was winning. And Mark was very graciously enough to decide to continue over lunch, where he could have decided, no, turn 5 I'm winning.
Yeah, because Phil came over, who was the the tournament judge, and he said, "Do you guys want to finish it now?" And you and Mark were discussing it, but
But yeah, I think if you're going into lunch, it's always best to play to the die roll, because that's how the game's supposed to work, isn't it? So always best to do that, and it went on, didn't it?
Yep. This meant that now I'm finally able to start picking on his things. So I puppet mastered the Riptide again, and he was able to kill 3 of his guided jet bikes, which was really good. He's got 2 squads of 3, so one of them goes off. My crew got targeted by once it got targeted by the Venoms. They got off. The Night Spinners torrented a fire, flamed, killed another crew squad, and the others got killed by Die Avengers. So the 3 crew squads I managed to get off the board over sort of turns 6 and 7. He still had the 1 squad of Guardian jet bikes, and also because it's Big Guns Never Tire, it's Dark Reapers, they're scoring, and they managed to get on the middle objective. But because obviously I managed to kill the Farseer in the challenge, and then the Riptide got ran down, this meant the beast attack was then free, and I got the charge off. I managed to go through the Dark Reapers, which got me the heavy support point, as well as...
yeah, they have such a big range. So I was watching you when you consolidated out of that combat. I think you were on a 5, and you were in kind of like one corner of the board, and then you went 5 inches out with the entire beast pack, and you were covering half the board then.
Yeah.
And they had their 12-inch move, and then their charge after that, and they could reach halfway across the board without an issue.
No, and that was it. So ended up with Mark scoring 1 objective, and I had 1 Guardian jet bike, was I think it was my last troop choice alive. He was scoring 1 objective. I managed to win because I'd killed more heavy support. It ended up, I think it was a 5-4 victory to me.
Yeah.
But like I said, Mark was...
No, because it was because he shot your Guardian jet bike, but you had killed 3 of his heavies, and then you got 2 of the secondaries.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's right. Yeah, I scored none of my points. Both Mark and I made a couple of mistakes at the end. I should have put Eldrad to make sure he could have tanked the first hits, because he still had 40.
It was a bit of 5th edition manoeuvring, wasn't it? You just going, oh, he goes over there, and you just joined him up instead of going.
Yeah.
He joins him up and stands in front of the jet bike to protect him.
I mean, we were both under pressure from time and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was a long game, and kind of like lunch had gone on. I think you were nearly an hour into the lunchtime.
Yeah.
Tony and I had gone and got you 2 lunch and things.
That was it.
It was
yeah.
still going on.
I mean, really, Mark played it in a really good manner, really good sport. I kept making a few fuck ups because I'm a little bit ring rusty, and he's quite gracious about it, and he took it in the right manner. So, no, I would definitely like to play Mark again. It was a really good game, and I think if I'm brutally honest, on balance, I'd say the dice rolls actually turned out reasonably even, and I think a draw probably would have been a fair result.
Yeah, from the sound of it, the C's was really important.
The C's were really important, but as was
turn to camera while driving.
Yeah, as was losing the Baron and stuff like that, and
yeah,
there's quite a few other rolls and stuff like that, which kind of towards the end, like my Wave Serpents just couldn't take out anything. They were quite sort of poor.
His Wave Serpent, you poured loads of fire into it, and they just stood there, didn't they?
Yeah.
Just 1 Wave Serpent at the back.
He just, he kept making vulnerable save and stuff like that, so it just kind of didn't work out for me in that regard. So yeah, but that was a really, really good game. Took it out of me massively, but thoroughly enjoyable. I'd sort of definitely like to take Mark on again.
Go again.
Okay. Right, Mr. Hall, go for your game 3.
So, game 3 is probably my favourite game of the day, because it was the closest game of the day. I was playing against, I can't remember his name. God, I apologise if you're watching this person I played against. He was playing Space Marine similar to me. He had White Scars, he had 2 biker units, 1 plasma, 1 grav. He had a chapter master, more or less exactly the same equipped as mine. What else did he have? He had 2 Razorback squads. I think they were each double plasma inside a double las Razorback. He had a Predator, a Vindicator, 3 Storm Talons, which was quite important for the game. He had Khan as well, and then he had Dark Angel allies. He had a Tech Marine on bike with the Force Field, and he had a Librarian on bike with the Force Field, and he had 5 Scouts. So he was reasonably light on troops. Oh, well, actually saying that, because his 2 bikes were troops, he wasn't light on troops, I'd take that back. So he won choice to go first, and because he's obviously scouting with Khan, he chose to go first. He set up, I only had 3 kind of like bits of terrain. It was a reasonably terrain lightish board. I had 3 bits of terrain in my half, and I managed to hide one of my bike squads behind. But my second bike squad, I couldn't really hide them from his scouting grav guns. So I'd hid my Thunderfire Cannon as well, and attack squad and the Devastators. They were each hiding behind, but he scouted forwards, and he managed to get his grav squad to shoot at my grav squad. I was quite lucky on my saves. I managed to keep 2 of them alive, both of the ones with grav guns, so I was quite happy with that. But at the end of the turn, we then made the leadership check, and I failed the leadership check because they were quite close to the edge of the board.
Yeah.
off they went. So his scout proved really pivotal there. So then I had my turn 1. He had his big squad, which had a librarian in and Khan in and 5 plasma bikes, or 5 bikes with a couple of plasma. I put down my stern guard and Tiggy with a half tactical squad, and they both opened fire on the bike squad. I only managed to kill 2 bikes, which was pretty poor. The other half of the stern guard squad with the melter in fired their melter at the Vindicator. I popped tactical doctrine on the Ultramarine, so I was re-rolling loads of hits in because I was really hoping to do a lot more damage. I rolled 3 1s with my melters on the Vindicator, but I was like, no problem. Tactical doctrine, re-rolled them, got all 1s and 2s, so completely missed.
Christ.
It was not good. My chapter master had broken off from the melter bikes and had moved forward to take on Khan's squad, because I'd expected to kill quite a few of them. And the melter squad went up the side and killed one of his Razorbacks. Chapter master then charged in. He challenged Khan. The combat went over 2 turns. I was a bit surprised that he didn't hit and run out at the end of my turn, because obviously the challenge was going on. So then he went to his turn, and my chapter master squished Khan, and then we hit and run away. And this was going to prove quite a common thing. Our bikes just hit and running away from each other each turn. So his turn 2, his grav bikes basically went over to that side of the table, and for the rest of the game they mulched my Thunderfire cannon, my half tactical squad, and then they sat on the objective in that corner. His chapter master came over to one side of the table. He hit one of my stern guard squads, and his flyers came on. They did a little bit of damage. Next turn, my chapter master joined up with Tigerius and 2 members of a tactical squad, and they charged in and they killed the bike squad that had the librarian left in it and 5 other members. The chapter master killed 1, and then Tigerius and the other 2 beat up the others. And then I moved around the side. He had a scout squad and a tactical squad on one of the objectives, and my bikes, basically over the next couple of turns, my melter bikes killed all of those. The Legion of the Damned came down. Over 3 turns, they killed the Vindicator, the Predator, and they Razorback, because they're awesome.
So good, aren't they?
So good. And our 2 chapter masters were basically in the centre of the table, and every turn we would charge each other with them, and we'd smack around, and every turn one of us would hit and run away to have another go next turn. But we both knew that if the chapter master won the combat, he could then just run around and kill all the rest of the units, because we didn't have really much to challenge him there. But on the next turn, that was mine, I managed to cast Prescience on my chapter master and Misfortune on his chapter master, and I ran in and I beat him around the face and I killed him. I was down to 1 wound because I'd rolled a couple of 1s against bolters and things he'd fired at me. But then I killed all of his troop choices other than the bike squad that was on my back objective, which I'd completely abandoned. Our flyers, I killed 1 of his, he killed my flyer. So he was ending up being left with 2 flyers and his bike squad, and I was left with Tigerius, who had joined up with the Devastators. I had a single bike left from my melter squad, and I had a tactical squad which drop podded in late game and had taken his back objective. So turn 5, I had a middle objective with my single bike, and I had the back objective, and he had a back objective, and I still had Tigris, who was my warlord, alive, and I'd killed his warlord. We both had Line Breaker, he had First Blood. We rolled to end the turn, didn't end. So then on turn 6, he had his 2 flyers, which I just hadn't been able to deal with because he took out my anti-air tank really early. So one of the flyers went over and just poured fire into Tigris' squad, and just due to Wrens and Tigris had taken a couple of wounds early on, he managed to kill Tigris and got the warlord point, and his other flyer killed my lone bike, who was in the centre of the table holding an objective, and he killed him. And I don't think he'd realised at the time, but basically he'd automatically won at that point, because we each had an objective in opposite corners of the table, and he had 3 secondaries, I only had 2 secondaries, and we couldn't really impact our scoring units left. So I informed him of this, and then we just called it there. But it was a really good game. It came down to basically that leadership at the end of turn 1 that caused my bikes run. I think gave him First Blood and gave him the game. But it was just a really good game. There was lots of to and fro, lots of tactical bike movements, loads of hit and running. We both had good luck and bad luck. It was just a really good game of 40k. Just what you want out of a game of 40k, really.
Good.
So yeah, what about your 3rd game then, Mark?
Right, I was up against a Grey Knight player. I'm currently on table 3 at this point because obviously a couple of players ahead of me have got some big wins. So I knew I needed to kind of do a really good win here.
Surprising amount of Grey Knights there, I thought. I think there were 4 Grey Knight players that I'd spied.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I just didn't have a chance to have a look around today.
No, your games went on a bit longer than mine, didn't they?
Yeah, so yeah, I didn't really have a chance to kind of have a look around. So yeah, I'm up against Grey Knights. He's running Drago wings, so he's got Drago, 10 Paladins in one squad, kind of maxed out. He's also got another 5-man Paladin squad. He then had a Vindicare Assassin and 2 tooled up Dread Knights. I gave him first turn, however I don't have fortune on this game, so both Eldrad and my Faster have got pretty pants powers, a couple of Dunes, but nothing really sort of too useful. And also for the first sort of 3-4 game, about turn 4, every single time he had to deny the Witch on a Doom, he passed. So that
was a bit of an issue when playing against Grey Knights. I had that in my second game. Tigris was trying to cast stuff, but luckily my Grey Knight player was rolling bad. So
yeah, it makes a real big deal. He basically shunted in. Well, he didn't shunt in straight away. He kind of moved across his 2 Dread Knights and then shunted him in sort of the next sort of turn. My Beast Pack charged in 1 Dread Knight and managed to bring it down eventually. I had to hit run once out of it and sort of do some firepower into it. The other Dread Knight got brought down because it shunted right into my ear to try and take out 3 Venoms, but he rolled really badly and then got shot up by sort of all my firepower, like 3 Venoms, a couple of Wave Serpents, and my Jet Bikes came on at this point. They were able to take out the Dread Knight. The Vindicator died on the first turn because I was able to put my 2 Wave Serpents into him. So
side armor or
Vindicare Assassin.
Oh, Vindicare. Sorry, I thought Vindicator.
I don't know if I said that wrong, but so the Vindicare went down, but he did manage to.
Vindicare, I don't think is worth it. He's so easy to kill. 2 wounds, and even with stealth, he's only getting a 3-up cover save. Even if he's in ruins, he's just.
Yeah, I think his day is done now. Really,
yeah, he needs more range. 36-inch range means that the opponent's generally going to be able to move forward and bolt to him.
I quite like him in a Bastion or transport.
Bastion, good, yeah.
In a Chimera as well, we can shoot out the top.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Or maybe some other shenanigans now with the new codex.
Yeah.
So you see how that works out. But anyway, at this point I'm also picking off his Paladins, and I gradually managed to do sort of a few wounds to Drago and stuff like that. We end up with my Beast Pack going into his Paladin. Sort of he assaulted me a good couple of times. He was generally able to win that combat. Obviously his Paladins are better than me when I don't have the fortune up, and he did sort of quite a lot of damage and did pretty much take out the whole squad in.
You don't really have any AP2 in that squad, do you? So they're not going to go through Paladins.
But because I was able to sort of hit and run out of combat, or I found leash every couple of times, I was able to, once I was out of combat, I just shot at the Paladins. I just gradually wore them down with wounds. We ended on turn 6 and I managed to table him. And I managed to claim all 5 objectives, so it was a very, very big win for me.
Just a side note, I'm not liking this, Mark. We appear to be stopping.
This is our night sky in front of us right now.
I see traffic. I see police lights in the distance. I'm hoping it's just a bit of rubbernecking.
Yep, there is nothing worse than stopping when you want to be moving.
Yeah.
This is nothing I ever enjoy doing.
What is there like traffic this time? It's a Sunday evening, for God's sake. Why aren't these people at home watching Stars in Your Eyes or something?
It's just not good enough, is it? Really? And what is this guy doing? Why are you changing lane, dickhead?
Yeah. So you're getting traffic commentary. So overall, what thoughts on the day, Mark? First of all, armies. How did you like your army overall?
I'm very happy with the army. Like I said, I would have rather had the Swooping Hawks over the Walk Spiders, but that was all a relatively minor change. Other than that, I think there's a reasonable balance. I really wanted more witches as opposed to the Cabalite Warriors as well for the extra haywire grenades, and the Cabalite Warriors didn't do a great deal. But other than that, no, I'm not going to complain. The list was good, solid enough, and obviously won me the 3 games.
Yeah.
And also day's events, I really enjoyed it. 3 really good games, some really good opponents, really nice crowd there, sort of just sitting around and chatting and stuff like that. And you could definitely feel there's the players' standards going up there. Sort of the guys trying to get in the ETC scene and stuff like that. So you really kind of get the sense that there is a sort of a good core of upper echelon players now.
And today it was sponsored as well. KR have given prizes. And they were really good prizes. I think there was a backpack full of foam for the winner. There was a big steel double case for second place, and there was we won't say where you came as yet, but Mark may have got a prize also.
You're kind of giving it away by going first or second, Kelly.
Mark may have come third.
So yeah, I came third overall, which I was happy with. I was happy with and sort of minorly disappointed.
Over 3 games, it's hard to do tiebreakers, isn't it? And
Yeah.
It just comes down to how. And your middle game was a really close game against a really good opponent.
Right, we need to change lanes.
We do.
This is why we have flashing blue police cars in front of us. They are now live on camera. So I'm going to point the camera this way so you don't get blinded by flashing blue lights.
And I'm going to try and be rude and squish this big car out of the way and let our little tiny car go in.
Yeah, go.
So my army for the day, I wasn't happy with the drop pods. I loved the bikes all throughout the day, but bikes were brilliant. Being able to hit and run, the amount of firepower they bring, and the manoeuvrability and the ability to assault after firing all your weapons and stuff is just so good. The drop pods though were just poor.
Yeah.
Every game I'd drop in, and even the stern guard, they'd drop in and try and melt stuff, and it was okay. It was bad luck on my part. I know that, and I should have. On average, rolling they'd have been a lot better. But the first game I dropped in to kill a Land Raider with 3 melters, didn't even put a single hull point on it. The last game I dropped in to kill a Vindicator, 3 melters, didn't put a single hull point on it. That's just bad rolling. Especially as I'd popped tactical doctrine both times. That shouldn't happen. Other than that, I was dropping in with tactical marines. They, even with the tactical doctrine to re-roll hits, they just don't do enough damage. They come in as the Alpha Strike. They put themselves often in a bad position to be able to get all their priority shots off, and they just don't kill much. I mean, bad rolling can only account for so much of that. They're just not dangerous enough up close to warrant it. So I just much prefer more bikes to them. So more bikes to be painted. The Chapter Master, utter beast. My best unit on the table more or less every game. Wherever he went, he would just kill stuff.
Oh, before it was Legion of the Damned, from what you've told me.
Other than the first game where he just died. Legion of the Damned were brilliant every game. They'd tie up loads of tough stuff in combat. Their triple melter gun would kill loads of things. They were awesome as well. Really liked them. Thunderfire reasonably disappointed. Didn't really do a lot. The barrage seems like it should be really good, but the fact that because it's barrage, you stick your Thunderfire out of line of sight, meaning you're then scattering a lot more. It's so much more likely that it does nothing than it used to be. Whereas it used to be, I'd stick it in a bolstered ruin so it had line of sight every time, and I would just put wounds wherever I wanted them.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm putting far less wounds on units just due to the randomness of the scatter. So I'd still always have one in because the bolster ruins is really useful, or bolster any train is really useful. And sometimes it doesn't just put loads of wounds down.
How's the Stalker tank?
Stalker tank, I only played against one opponent with two opponents with flyers. It died before my opponents with flyers came on in the middle game. First game, what did it do first game? I'm trying to think about first game, that's a long time ago, Mark. It wasn't brilliant, but it was only 70 points. And I used it, in the first game actually, it didn't kill anything, but I used it as basically a movable wall.
Yep.
A 70-point manoeuvrable wall that has some shots it can fire, and it's got 12 AV, so it's actually quite useful. I used it for a bit of blocking line of sight, and also to prevent me from seeing all of an enemy unit with my Devastators, so I could then pick on who I was firing at.
Yeah.
Which is quite useful. So I'd take it again for 70 points. I think it's a pretty, or 75 points is a pretty good investment. The Storm Talon was really good. Ideally, I think you needed them in pairs though.
Yep.
I don't own a second one as yet. But other than that, the army was fun. I enjoyed playing the army, which I suppose is the main thing. It wasn't the most powerful army that I've ever taken, but it was really good fun to play. But I think there was a lot of that was just down to the fact the bikes are just fun to play. They're fast, they're powerful, they're not bad in close combat, they're tough, they're just all round good.
They do a lot of things well, bikes, don't they?
The fact they've always got a cover save. There was often times when my tactical marines didn't find themselves out in the open somewhere after drop podding badly, and the opponent just goes, well, I kill those, they're dead. Whereas it's really hard to just kill bikes, because especially the White Scar ones, they've always got a 4-up cover save.
Yep.
And their toughness 5. They're just really good. I want more. Need to be painting. I think I came end of the day, so I got 2 losses and a win. The win was a huge win, and the 2 losses weren't. I only lost one by 1 point, and the other one not by a huge amount of points. So I came mid-table in the end. I think I was at the top end of the people who had only won 1 game.
Yep.
Which I think put me 14th or 15th out of 28, 29 people.
That's pretty good.
So it's not bad. I mean, I obviously wanted to do better, but for me, because I didn't bring, my list wasn't a hugely tuned list. I mean, we didn't really have time to practice our list, did we?
No.
And I had really good fun in my free game. That's the important thing. Obviously, I'd have much preferred to have come higher up and won, but had a really good time. Thanks a lot to Andy and Phil for doing most of the organising and such. A really good game.
Yep.
Really good day.
Yep. I believe that is a wrap, is it not?
That is a wrap. How long are we thinking on the vid?
We got you and I waffle like no tomorrow.
Yeah, it's probably an hour-long vid. I apologise for the not very interesting video part. I'm going to put a message at the beginning. Watch while doing something. Actually, just going to look at my face or Mark's face for an hour.
I mean, this is almost a podcast now, not a video, isn't it?
Yeah, basically. It's a podcast with noise.
Yeah,
with vision.
There's one visual aspect of our game, and that was it. Job done.
That's it. Thanks, everybody.
Good night, guys.